everybody is born with a little something extra, and sometimes they just have to find it. A little something extra is that superpower that every single one of us has inside that motivates us and drives our passion and makes us do the things that we do.
We're all on the same team. Let's think about how we can make that team as inclusive as we can.
For those of you listening to our podcast right now, you can also check out our video podcast at alittlesomethingextrapodcast.org.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Little Something Extra. I am Nancy Gianni, and I am here with my daughter.
But GiGi is Playhouse.
Oh, okay. And
GiGi Shadow Franco Gianni.
The big brother's in the house today, and he's sitting on this side now. I actually like having
I've joined the long table.
He's joined the table.
I have. And we are joined today by a very special guest. We are joined by Rob Snow.
No.
Rob is a stand-up comedian, former stand-up comedian, who has kind of built his entire platform around his life of comedy and has now kind of brought it out to the Down syndrome community and is really kind of expanded on really just different types of programs that can be offered for individuals with Down syndrome that I think are extremely beneficial. So I say we should probably hand it over to him now. He can tell us a little bit more about himself because no one gives a better bio than the person themselves.
That's right. So talk to us, Rob. What's up, brother? What's up, brother?
Hey. This is great. I'm so thankful to be a part of this. I love you guys. I love everything that you do. Nancy and GiGi. Just everything. And Franco, oh my gosh. So glad to meet you.
Great to meet you.
A part of the table, Franco.
I know.
And you're like in the corner.
He's in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Except you guys, clearly.
You earned it. You've done something to earn this.
That's right.
GiGi.
Yes.
All right. So, and former comedian, and that's fairly loose. And I say that because sometimes people are like, stand-up comedian and everything, and people are looking me up like, I've never heard of you. So no, I started doing stand-up back in the late 90s. I graduated from college in 95, and so you can all do the math on my age. And, so I went out to Chicago and just, did Second City and Improv Olympic, and I was doing stand-up, and I gave it 3 years of my life. So, yeah, stand-up's a really challenging endeavor.
Oh my God, I can imagine.
A lot of people attempt it. It's a very just stupid job to do, or attempt to do. You stand up in front of people and make jokes, and they have to immediately laugh. So, if you're a musician, you could wait for even if you were terrible, you'd still get polite applause at the end, right? No, stand up, you get
it's brutal.
You get it right there.
Yeah.
So I did that though. I did some clubs, I emceed and things like that. And then after 3 years, I kind of said, boy, this is a really long and arduous road ahead. And I just said, let's check out this real job stuff. And I had a real girlfriend, and she had a real job, and so we were getting very serious. I just kind of gave up on it at the time. I gave up on it. So that's kind of the whole story here, because if for those of you listening, if you have these dreams and everything, and all of a sudden you go, oh well, I can't do it, and you go through these feelings of like, oh, you're a failure. You this was your dream and you couldn't do it. Be patient. Be patient. Some things might come back around as they did for me. So
that's so awesome.
Absolutely.
That is awesome. Well, keep going. I want to hear more of the story.
I know.
I wasn't sure. Wait, when you left Chicago, I wasn't sure if he was married. Like, I knew that you had been here, but then I'm like, wait, was he married when he kind of stopped doing? So you were getting serious, and you're going, uh-oh, I got to get a real gig.
I did, and I got fired. I was a waiter at a restaurant, of all places, called Rock Bottom Brewery.
Oh my God.
And when I got fired for Rock Bottom Brewery, I felt that was very coincidental. And I had to walk home because I had no money. They fired me before my shift, and I.
Oh no.
I had no money at all. Even in the bank, I didn't have any money in the bank. And I was like, and I lived up by Wrigley Field, so it was like a 7-mile walk.
Oh my God.
On a cold, windy. No, it was summer. It wasn't. So I don't want to paint.
And it was all uphill, and that whole day.
Climb the Chicago mountain all the way back to Wrigley. Yeah.
So I did this walk, and it was really one of those kind of like once in a lifetime walks where I was going through every emotion of like, anger, and then denial and embarrassment, and then as I kept walking, though, all of a sudden like understanding, like I didn't want that job anymore. I was starting to look for real jobs. I was becoming cynical and apathetic towards it. So understanding of why I was fired. And then all of a sudden kind of the like appreciation for it. Like that's what I wanted. I needed kind of a kick to move into a different, something else that I wanted to do. And then finally, once you have that, you have acceptance and then elation, and now I was ready to go. So it was really a big moment in my life. I have a show that I do called Minimize the Mountain, which I've done for a number of GiGi's playhouses and openings. I just did the latest one in Cincinnati, and I do this show and I talk about this walk literally that I had at this moment. And Nancy, I'm sure your life has been full of kind of epiphanies and these moments of things, and that's what I had. But what it did was it took me into getting that real job, and then we got married and we had a real house, and the real kid came and everything like that. And then 8 years later, after I stopped doing stand-up and improv altogether, about 8 or 9 years later, my wife Ellen, who started Stand Up for Downs with me, she said, "Look, I'm done." She'd been in this corporate job for 15 years, and she said, "I'm good. I'm done. Figure it out." So I said, like, done? Or like job? I'm done. I'm going to raise my kid. I'm going to be a housewife. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, we were living downtown Chicago, and I said, well, I guess if we can't do that just on my salary now. So I looked at Ohio, where I'm from, the Cleveland area, and I said, they've got half off housing back in Ohio.
It's not Chicago.
Ridiculous. And I was like, let's try that. And then that's when things got crazy. So for 8 or 9 years, I had not done any stand-up. And for some reason, we moved to this small town in Ohio, and I start doing stand-up again. I literally just had one joke that was just burning a hole in my head. And I was like, I got to tell this joke. And I can't really say it here on the air, but it was very funny, I thought, and it was very funny.
You could totally say it. You got to say it.
No, I can't. It's just it wouldn't play. It was just anyway. Just So
I have one. So.
Well, you could tell
if
him
anybody
later.
wants to, I want to hear that, Gigi. But if anybody wants to book me out there, you can hear the full joke. That'll be
there. You go. Little teaser there.
That's right. But. So I start getting back into comedy, and I'm just doing like open mics and guest sets, and I've got this very real job and sales and everything, and so I wasn't doing it for any reason other than just kind of a kick. And then 9 months after, literally 9 months to the day, do the math, we had Henry after we moved to Medina, and didn't know we were going to have a child with Down syndrome, and that was life-changing, obviously.
Of course.
But we picked it up pretty quick. We embraced it almost immediately. We had a pediatrician who was the first one who told us. We had never met her before, and she walked into, the hospital room and into our lives for the very first time. And she looked at him that first day because he really had no physical traits common to someone with Down syndrome, believe it or not. And so we had no inkling of this, and she looks at him, and then she hands him back, and she says, I'm about 80% sure that your son has Down syndrome. But then she says, and that is awesome. And then she turns around her laptop, and she starts showing us pictures of her daughter
with Down syndrome. Oh my gosh! Yeah. Oh, that gives me goosebumps.
I literally have goosebumps.
I know. I was there.
That is
it was amazing.
Wow! Wouldn't that be amazing if everybody got that?
Every pediatrician
had
a child with Down syndrome.
All the terrible stories.
So many terrible stories.
Yeah.
That's
so good to
awesome,
hear.
Rob. Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
So we had her right away, and so she was just really helpful and has been. She's still our, the pediatrician here. And that was just, we just had this sense of like, well, we're not going to, be upset about this or anything like that. We're going to jump in.
Yeah.
And we did. And then that's when everything kind of started. And I always say, like, the rest of my life has been a merger of kind of the comedy and Down syndrome and kind of the merger of these two things.
I love that. And that's that. I do have one question. When you were talking about stand-up and you were talking about Second City when you were back in Chicago, and in those days you didn't have a child with Down syndrome, and I know language was a big thing. I remember going to Second City, and I remember they, like in my house when we grew up, grandma, like my mom would never let us use the R word. Like that was a word we couldn't use any slang. Like that was just, we couldn't use any words like that in our house.
Saint Grandma? Absolutely.
Yes, never. And I remember going to Second City, and I remember I was like, oh my gosh, why do they keep saying that? Like it was used a lot, and I don't just mean Second City. I just mean in comedy.
Yeah.
It was used. I don't mean to say anything negative about that.
Yeah, comedy in general, right?
Yeah, it was used, and was that part of your type of comedy when you were doing comedy?
Yeah.
And then, how did it change once, you became a comedian and then also became a father of a child with Down syndrome? Yeah.
Absolutely, Nancy. It's such a great question because I get this all the time, and every now and then you'll start to see posts where, a comedian used the R word or even kind of worse, really delved into it deeper, and then there's a huge chain going around, and inevitably my name will get thrown into the chain. Like, well, I wonder what Rob Snow thinks about this. And,
right.
He's in comedy. And okay, so first off, yes, I had a particular joke. I don't remember if I specifically used the R word, but it wouldn't, and I only say this as like a, such regret, but this is how it was, unfortunately. And so I don't remember if I specifically used the R word, but I literally had a joke about people with special needs. I am quite certain that the poster child of that joke was Down syndrome, and when we had Henry, I literally sat in, in the hospital room with Ellen, and we were going, back and forth, like, on why we had a child with Down syndrome. Well, of course it was because of my joke. And she goes, no. Remember I had those drinks after we,
oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't know. Like we had these, just the most ridiculous reasons when you're just so
blindsided.
Shocked.
Yeah. And so I had that regret. Now, I can be chastised as much as anybody wants to chastise me for having that joke. And I'm certainly willing to accept it because I know more. You don't need to tell me how much regret I have for that joke.
Totally.
Yeah. So if we play this, and air this, and somebody goes, I can't believe you. Fine, give it to me.
Yeah.
I've already given it to myself.
Totally. 100%.
You have to have that. You have to have people like that who realize the mistakes of the past, and because nobody's perfect except your mom, obviously, or your grandma who knew not to say that word. I just didn't know it. It's so stupid. And so great. I've lived now my life to try to eradicate that word.
That's
and,
awesome.
Since then. So.
And we had, with Tom Segura when.
Well, that was a big thing that we went through.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the big one.
That was a big one. Well, and it was also the.
Tom.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. Did you ever talk to him?
We did. We went to, we met with him and his agent.
Yeah.
We went to LA and we met
it was like
out there.
us,
And
Tom
Special,
Segura, and then Shriver,
from
one of
Special
their
Olympics was
sons.
with us. Yeah, the Shrivers.
With us, and we were kind of talking about it with him, and I remember because I was there too, because I was like kind of providing that similar perspective because I just love stand-up comedy and I just love comedy in general. I always go to like a lot of shows, like you say Second City and stuff. I live right next to the one on North Avenue, so I'm always around comedy and love going to it. But so I was talking to him, trying to be like that opinion that's coming from a sibling that has. Or coming from a sibling that has, a sibling with special needs, but also trying to also be like, I also understand comedy and I understand I understand that there is a lot of fine lines and like what you're trying to do. And it's just like, and he was trying to like back himself up a little bit. He's like, I'm not necessarily trying to like go in on anyone like with special needs or anything like that. It's like, it's just a joke. And I'm like, and I remember telling him, I'm like, at this point now, like, I totally understand that. I get it, and you're regretful and all of that, and that's great. but also at the same time, it's all now about like setting a standard for what's next. Because I mean, Tom Segura is like one of those like top.
He was up
comedians
and coming
now.
a lot
I mean,
at
he was
that
really
time.
up and coming, and now
Yeah.
he's like kind of right up there as like one of the top
Yeah.
comedians, and like setting that standard for what is and what isn't acceptable, and then how you react to it.
Yep.
And what your response is, and apology or whatever. And I think.
I think he stepped up.
I thought he did a pretty decent job. He like took like the Gen G pledge. He took pictures, he posted on social media. So, but at the same time, it's like how like you have to just like I think the big thing with society now too is like people are regretful and they want to try to move past things. You
Yeah.
can't necessarily just hold it against them forever.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, the problem was we felt pretty good. He took the Gen G pledge. Let's spread that acceptance. And you can tell he had kids. I said, if you were to see Gigi, walking down the street, would you knock her down? Of course you wouldn't. Would you walk up to her face and say that word?
No.
And he was he was literally he was like, I would never hurt her. I said, but you did.
Yeah.
And you hurt him, my son,
Yeah.
and you hurt my daughter, and you hurt me. That is what you did. Maybe, think about that when you walk up to somebody like that, would you do that to their face? And I really felt like he got it. But other groups were looking for him to take it down, to do so much more. So, we didn't even really get to talk too much about it because other people wanted things that were unrealistic. Once it's on the internet, it's out there. It's not going away. So just let the person be apologetic and go, I get it. And you know what? I will tell others. And thank you, God, for that. That's all we ask. You know what I mean? It's every single one of us makes mistakes every single day. But as long as we own up to them and we want to be better, I think that's the case. And I know in that next, he did that next. We were so afraid when he went back on, and people were like, "Are you going to be addressing that?" And he didn't. I mean, he addressed that he got in trouble, but he didn't. He didn't make it. He didn't make fun of the Down syndrome community or anybody else, which I think was great. And but it was just so interesting that he didn't. The way he saw the word after the fact, when he heard it out of her mouth and then out of a fan. That's the reason we brought the siblings with. These are your fans. This is your demographic. They're not laughing. They're hurt. Like, you can't continue to do that. Like, it was great. I really felt like it was a great thing. So let's get off of that. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm curious because you said you kind of got like pulled into that a little bit too. Like, where were you with that whole thing?
It's challenging because I've always been on the side of we all have this freedom of expression, right?
Yeah.
We can say anything we want, but that gets so, especially nowadays with the concept of political correctness, and I'm very much on the side of, of course you can say anything that you want, but you also
Knock
have
people
repercussions.
down.
Yeah, there's repercussions for what you say. Exactly.
It's the whole, and we've known that because the whole analogy is you can say anything you want in this world. And that's, by the way, that's not specific to America. You can say anything you want in, maybe bad timing to say this, but in Russia, in China, in anywhere you want. But there's repercussions to anything. Mm-hmm. It's just like the analogy was always like, well, you can't really yell fire in a movie theater. Well, yeah, you can. Yeah. And then you'll get arrested for it or whatever. And, and so Tom Segura was fine to say those words. And then you held him accountable, and so many other people did.
Yeah. It was great.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah.
So sorry, and that's where I always go to this, political correct argument. Maybe we're sidetracking here, but I always go to this like, we're not telling people you can't say things, but we're asking people to have some decency and understanding, and so people will go, well, yeah, with political correctness, like I know I can't say the N word, and I know I can't say most people would say, I know I can't say the R word, but boy, there's these other things. So, yeah, that's just it. You're going to be tripping on a few things. I look at some things and I go, oh, okay, that's going a little far.
Yeah.
We all do that. But at the same time, I would rather err on the side of decency over anything else.
100%. And that's what you guys do. That's why I think what you guys do is so amazing, because it's so fun, but it's also clean, awesome fun, but it's funnier than it's awesome. It's so awesome.
It just plays so well.
Yeah. So tell us again. So now here you have your son, and this is going on, and You guys are blaming each other like that. It's so funny that you say she had a drink, or we had one mom who thought it was because she drank Diet Coke during her pregnancy. Like she didn't even know what it was from. You know what I mean? Like you right away think that you did this. Not, it had nothing to do with any of us. It was how that broke apart, and that's just the way it was. So there's, it's so funny that we all kind of do that blame thing and try to figure it out, but there's nothing to figure out. God gave us this incredible gift, and it's what we do with it. Yes.
Acceptance, and then you go, okay,
all right,
this is great.
Yes.
And in my bigger show, I talk about that full circle of acceptance and like how that all happened, and it is such an amazing kind of moment. But yeah, anyway, so the rest of my story is, so we jumped in. She got big into advocacy, partners in policy and things like that. I joined our local board, but then a few years went by, and I was like, wait, I really kind of want to do more. But what can we do? What is our strength? And I had been producing some comedy and things like that. I said, well, maybe we can do that. Maybe we can just raise money and use comedy to do that. And so she was like, Stand Up or Downs. I was like, great
name. That's an awesome name.
Yeah. And our first one was Hilarity for Charity, and then Seth Rogen took that.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, and he stole it from us. But anyway, we hadn't trademarked anything, but all of it, we bought all this stuff, and it says Stand Up for Downs, but then the tagline is Hilarity for Charity. So we have like countless envelopes with like Hilarity for Charity on it. But anyway, so we did Stand Up for Downs. We put that together. Sole purpose was more to be a foundation, really just to raise money. We've contributed to GiGi's, and we've contributed to all these different organizations. And did for us was it helped us, we raised in like 4 or 5 years like almost $500,000, and then we got to just kick it out because we had no overhead on it or expenses other than when we do an event you had expenses, but nobody, no staff or anything. So we got to write these fun checks and everything, and
so awesome.
It kind of gave us, I always like to say, it gave us like courtside seats to the Down syndrome community where people like Nancy Gianni and everybody else, like you're doing these things, but we were kind of on these courtside seats being able to watch and just be involved and invited, and this is where I kind of say, when we put these things together, these charities like you did, Nance, and, there's a selfish motive to it. And it's, we think this word selfish is bad. But what I mean by that when I say selfish is we put this together so we could do the best for our son. Totally. And we could stay in the know on everything Down syndrome related. And I would imagine you did the same.
100%. Yeah.
And yes, it helps many, many people along the way. But focus is always, right there across the table from you and my son as well. And I think that's the beauty of charities and nonprofits, that's how they mostly come together, because that passion and heart are there.
Totally.
So we did that. We did that for about 5 years, and it was mostly just events and things like that. And then, that's hard to do. Just event after event after event.
Lot.
Yeah.
As your playhouses know well. So it's hard to do. And, going back to the well and things. And so I was up in Detroit visiting a friend and his wife. And, I love the wife. The friend had been a long time college buddy and everything like that. And he and I would stay up late and have drinks and talk. And then he'd go to work in the morning. And in the morning, I'd hang out with his wife and just talk. And she was awesome. She did improvisation and things. And at this time, she had 2 little girls under the age of 3. And then she had 3 more on the way.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And I always laugh because my friend never really wanted kids.
And you're 6.
Yeah. And so, here's 5 girls under the age of 5.
Oh, my gosh.
So I said, what would you be doing now if you weren't doing this for the rest of your life? And she goes, I always wanted to teach improvisation to people with special needs.
What?
And I go, why is that?
Yeah.
Which I just think, like, why wouldn't I have picked up on that immediately? But I go, why is that? And she goes, oh my God, imagine the possibilities. And I was
so
like,
true.
oh my gosh. Like, ugh. why did I studied at improv? I've studied at Second City. I studied at Improv Olympic and the Annoyance Theater, like all these meccas of improv. I worked at Second City and watched Tina Fey every night. She worked there at the time, and Rachel Dratch and her. I'm going, how did I not think of this?
That's so awesome.
And it hit me, and I said, okay. And we talked more about it. And I said, okay, I'm obviously going to steal your idea.
Yeah.
You got to have babies anyway. You're not going to have time for this.
You are not doing anything. She goes, oh my God, you have my blessing, please.
So
and I drove
cool.
home from Detroit. It was like 3 hours. I never turned on the radio once, and it was just this music in my mind of this idea. And I thought, oh my God, you could increase so many skills. And I thought, problem solving and quick thinking and creative thinking and voice projection and eye contact and character development and attention to detail, focus, teamwork, like all these. Plus, how about a pretty nice dose of self-confidence?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, like all of this. And I just, okay, how do we do it? How do we get it going? And we just did. And gosh, this is so great. I'm talking to you guys because it was GiGi's Cleveland was the first place that I thought of. I go, well, for God's sakes, you have a stage built in.
Right.
Oh,
yes.
This is just all about GiGi's. And so, we called up Liz down there.
She's
and
so awesome.
He was like, yes. So we started all of our programming there. And we did it, like, we just kind of threw games at them and to see what stuck. And then things started to stick. And just to keep going, sorry, you can edit however you like, but the best, when we really knew something was big, was we were working, in Cleveland. We were just doing them once a month, and it was like an hour and a half workshop every Saturday, once a month, or once every. Anyway, so and maybe for 4 months had gone by, and there was a young man there who had a dual diagnosis of autism and Down syndrome, and I was in an airport, and Liz, the site coordinator in Cleveland, calls me up, and she goes, hey, I got to tell you this story. I was just over at this person's house, and now he only used maybe a couple words whenever we'd have this. He was such a sweet young man, but he would really only use a couple words, and that would be it. But he just really enjoyed doing this, and that's how it went. But she calls me up. She goes, I was just at this person's house, and he came up to me. He gave me this huge hug. He couldn't stop telling me how he wants to be an actor. He was talking to me like crazy. He's got his certificate, his Improvaneer certificate.
That's awesome.
And he's like, his name was Tony, and he says, Tony wants to be actor. Tony wants to be on Broadway. Tony wants like all these things.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the parents came up, and Liz says, what is up with Tony? And they go, that class. They go, that class. And he goes, he hasn't stopped talking since he started taking these classes.
That's
and I am a puddle.
Yeah, of course.
I believe it. Yeah.
In the corner, just like,
Right?
oh my God, what?
Yes.
This works? This actually works?
Yeah.
Totally.
And then, which I assumed it would, I guess, but my God, to hear that. And then, and I said, okay, we gotta ramp this up. Let's do this once a week. And then we found a theater space. It just we weren't able to do it, once a week there. We just found another theater space, and then that's how it started. And
Awesome.
That's how we got Nick and everybody else. We auditioned. These guys right behind me. We auditioned the world's first all Down syndrome improv troupe, and
That is so beyond cool.
Well,
The two things you said that I love, just because obviously you're an entrepreneur spirit, like you when you said you got in the car for 3 hours, you didn't drive. Those are my favorite drives, when your ideas like come into action.
I
Like,
can't even imagine. And someday, I know you've shared it. I've never really heard it, but I can't even imagine the story that you would tell about that day that you got this idea.
yes, it's so cool. So hearing you say that like gave me goosebumps everywhere, because that's how it starts. But it's getting the idea and then putting it together, and the excitement of putting it together and what it's going to take, and then calling people because you need this, and watching everybody jump in and make it happen. It's just such, and it happens. It just, I was just at the Long Island Playhouse this weekend, and just watching how their whole community jumps in. Just, this is how change happens when we put something out there that people can. can jump on, and I so love that story.
Well, and it's so funny too, because like when I originally heard of you and what you created with the Improvaneers, and then also with Stand Up for Downs, I was like, this is just freaking genius. I mean, like, because I've interacted with so many adults with Down syndrome, because I work at our storefront. I worked at our storefront here and just have
In
been
high
around
school
it for
for
so
years,
long.
yeah.
And I'm like, it's so crazy, because once you just kind of instill that confidence, and then also just allow the social skills to kind of get those wheels in motion, it just really
They're
takes
hilarious,
off.
right.
And it really takes off. And they have, and really, I feel like what works so well with the improv too is that they don't really hold back. Like so when it comes to being able to come out with just be quick-witted, with just throwing stuff out there that's really funny. Like Gigi's hysterical when it comes, because based purely off that. If she just doesn't, like, she just is not afraid to throw something out there, and it usually sticks. And so when I saw that you were doing these improv classes and teaching that, I'm like, and all those different skill sets that you say that come with doing improv, I'm like, that is essentially the most important skills that individuals with Down syndrome
100%.
and individuals with disabilities can really develop when it comes to just
yeah.
allowing yourself to really go forward and be able to, get a job, and being able to just be part of society, and being able to have a bunch of friends, and being able to just socialize.
Socialize is huge.
Yeah, the improv is, I mean, it's all a ruse, really. It's because the whole point of this is to our mission statement is we're going to use improvisation to build skills that will greatly increase social, workplace, and lifetime opportunities for those with developmental disabilities. So the ruse is improv, because that's how we achieve it. But it's a ruse in the sense of, like, it's super fun.
Totally.
It's funny. We can get them in, without them knowing what we're actually doing, which is building skills.
Right.
Exactly.
Because they're having so much fun. I mean, that's the premise
having
behind
too much fun.
Yes, that's how our programming.
Wait a
That's
minute,
what you
did he
do.
just teach me something?
Yeah. How'd that happen?
He trapped me.
I've been doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I remember watching, therapy with Henry when he was young, like physical therapy, and I remember just sitting in the room going, "They're just playing with toys."
Yeah. Right.
They're getting him. The genius here is they're getting him to think that he's just playing.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, what they're doing is teaching him how to build a structure and balance it, and use those skills. Like, that's
Totally.
the same concept here, and really. But the jobs piece is the biggest, benefit to this. Is really what our ultimate goal is. And I was just on a call earlier with the National Down Syndrome Organization, and we were talking about this piece, and I said, all I want to do is create the most ability fitting jobs for each individual. Unfortunately I used to kind of say, well, I want better jobs, because you go and you'd see somebody just like stacking shelves or sorting things, and then you realize, well, those can be great jobs.
Right.
It just depends
For the
how
right
the
person.
individual
For the right person. Yeah.
takes to that job. And Nick is really a great story, because he was kind of doing that. He worked at a grocery store for like 11 years, and they didn't even really bring him up front, where like things like bagging or greeting would have been much better for
Oh
Nick.
yeah.
Totally.
For sure.
People
so
facing.
full of personality.
Yeah, and they had him in the back, and and he just didn't like it at all, and so the job didn't fit his abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And you have enough, CEOs out there who are, kind-hearted individuals and really see the need, and they go, yes, I want to bring individuals with developmental disabilities into our company. I want to do that. But then it kind of stops there if we're not good on our end, because then they could get pigeonholed and go, because I have this job where they could just sort things over there.
Right.
And they've never taken the time, and this is generalization, of course, but to get to know that individual and go, wait a minute, maybe this person could do more.
Much. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
So we actually had a case study after all this, and we measure this program very. It's a very kind of big process of how we measure this program. We have a statistical analysis to it, where we actually give rankings or scores to them on each of these skill sets at the beginning
Totally.
and at the end of the program.
Yeah.
But then we have surveys with parents and caregivers and the individuals participating in organizations. But then we have case studies, and one case study is we had this young woman who just the most amazing personality, and Teresa, and but not great articulation, so you couldn't really understand Teresa very well. But she just was so amazing. She's just this light that walks into a room and bursts it open, and she got a job at Chick-fil-A. And originally they put her kind of in the back room, the prepping food and cleaning dishes. And the manager, to his credit, just started noticing her attitude, going from this vivacious, super energy, super, charismatic person to just shoulders slumped, unhappy, constantly. And her dad would say she was unhappy and things. And her mom would, and then finally the manager was like, "Hey, Teresa, why don't you go bust some tables out there?" And then almost immediately, as she did that, he looks up and he hears laughter, and then he's worried because he's thinking the worst.
Yeah.
And then he sees her laughing in this table, and then they're hugging, and he goes, "Oh my God, what have I done?" And now she's a greeter. She refills drinks. She busts tables, but it's all customer facing,
Absolutely. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story. And that's the way it should be.
Exactly. And I mean, that's how I see.
Some people do better in different areas, but there's many of our kids that
anyone
belong.
in this world, regardless of a diagnosis,
exactly.
It's just kind of who you are.
Okay, Gigi, I see you. Gigi's pointing at her questions. She wants to ask.
Gigi, I haven't had a good chance to talk to you.
I know. She's like, she keeps looking at me, and I know she's doing her purpose, her yawn on purpose, where, to let me know,
just so
like,
you can hear it.
Yeah, just, I was watching. I saw
well.
you. I know it well.
I say let's rip through all of them.
Okay.
Gigi has a bunch of questions lined up that she wrote up, so
Good luck editing this one.
How old is your kids?
So right behind me here, we've got up there, we've got Henry, is my young man with Down syndrome. He'll be 13 this weekend.
Wow.
And then,
this weekend. Happy birthday,
Time
Henry.
goes.
Yes, it does.
And then Charlie is a junior in high school, and he's 17.
Wow.
Awesome.
He's looking to go into film school. So.
Oh, very cool.
That's cool.
Well, he can grade us on our editing.
Have any film projects for a young man who wants to put something on his reel? Let us know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Has Henry been getting interested in stand-up and improv at all?
It's an interesting case, like he's so into it, he loves it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, well, we're going to improv tonight. Are you going to come with me? Now these are, this is like Nick and his group, older individuals, and he'll just like, no. And then, or let's play an improv game. Oh, Dad.
Right.
All you talk about is improv.
That's
but
fine.
I think by this osmosis in our house, it just kind of happens. Like we have games naturally play around the table that he does improv, and he was a part of, like, this was a big show that we did over my other shoulder, and he was a part of that show, so he got to be a part of it. He loves it.
Awesome. That's great. Sorry, Gigi.
What do you love most about Henry and Charlie?
Oh my gosh. Well, Charlie, I don't like that much, but Henry.
We'll make sure not to show it to Charlie.
Oh man, that's such a great question, Gigi, and so impossible to answer. But I love that they're different, but the same. I love them as a pair of siblings, and you two can relate, Franco and Gigi. But they're so close, and what they've done for each other is just so beautiful. Charlie is just incredibly sensitive, in the best, in a good way.
Totally.
I mean, he's so aware of other people, and if somebody's being bullied or something like that, he goes and either confronts or comforts that individual and things. And it's just been all of his life. And I'd love to think that that's because we had Henry, but and perhaps it is, and I don't care either way, but that's what he's become. And then Henry, just looks up to him so much. But they look up to each other in such an incredible way. And that cool. Relationship is really one that I love. I mean, siblings don't always act like that with each other, and there's a lot of fighting. And I'm not saying there isn't fighting between them, but there's just so much ridiculous love
That's
there.
awesome.
That's just so sweet to watch.
Yeah, we get that too. I get that. There's
Yes, I
fighting,
think
but
it
there's
definitely comes
love.
to territory love.
There is
Yep.
fight. We're not
There's always fighting.
going to sugarcoat too much, but yeah.
All right, go ahead.
What is your favorite part about stand-up comedy?
Question.
Oh, I mean, I'll say kind of the truism is that you just get to make people laugh, and there's a lot of fun to that. It's a lot of hard work, so you can look back on if you're decent enough at it, you can look back on the work that you did and go, wow, that's something. It took me a long time to get there, to really appreciate how hard that was to do it, how hard it is to get on stage and actually come up with 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And comics who do it, goes back to the Segura conversation. It's hard. So when people come up with things, they think it's very funny to them, and they see something there, and it might not come across the right way on stage, but you got to admire the work and the effort. And I think that's really, even beyond just making people laugh, which is obvious, that's really great to do. I think the appreciation of the hard work of it, and the fact that you really are doing something that puts yourself out there in a very vulnerable way.
Totally. Like that in itself takes courage, like to write it and then have to stand up there in front of strangers. It's not like you're like, with your family who
Yeah.
they're
kind of have to like
they're
be
gonna
nice.
they're gonna giggle a little. But
Think of the build to that.
Yeah.
The build to that. There's a great special by Adam Sandler on on Netflix, and it shows his build of every joke, even at his level.
wow.
It shows him doing it at some open mic down the road, and then he'll do the same joke at a comedy club, and then it's a small theater, and then it's
The big stage.
an auditorium or
Wow.
an arena.
Yeah.
It's really cool to watch how
Progressions.
jokes get built, and
That's awesome.
they don't start very well
Yeah.
at all.
That's
They
crazy.
start bad.
And I'm sure it also.
You don't even think about that, and you really don't give the credit. Like, you just kind of think that they're funny people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that they
it's a lot
can
of
get up
trying
there and
out,
do
yeah.
that. But I never even realized, with somebody like at that level that they're still, not sure if it's going to be funny and still, trying it out
Yeah.
here. That's really cool. Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. Because you just look at it as like they can get up there and do anything because they're funny.
You just
But
do it. It's like when I look at musicians and performers and things, I go, I almost kind of go, I always think about this with magic, where I'm just not into magic. And then I'll watch magic, and then I'll go, and this is why I think I'm not into it, because I think I know it's a trick. I think I know it's a trick, except it's so amazing that my brain can't even get around
Right.
how amazing that is.
Yeah.
And I just go, it's good. And meanwhile, there's a possibility that something
magical just happened.
magical is happening, and we should be, after we see good magic, we should be like, oh my god, we should be on our feet, like going, what is happening?
Yeah.
But we don't. We that's
No,
great.
like-
Nice. He fooled us.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
good.
that's it.
That was good.
Oh, sorry, Geech. Go ahead. Sorry.
funny.
Proceed.
Who is your favorite comedian?
Okay, so hard question, of course. I've always loved Brian Regan. If you ever knew Brian Regan, he's absolutely
really funny.
amazing. He's kind of every comic's favorite too. He's 100% clean. That's the whole kind of
Wow.
shtick with him. He's 100% clean, but he just tells a story and a joke. He crafts a joke and a way of doing it that is just so phenomenal.
Yeah.
I like a guy named Nate Bargatze right now. He's an incredible storyteller. I think, though, I could keep going on. Chris
Yeah.
Rock was also
Of course.
just
Oh, yeah.
Eddie Murphy
Oh, Eddie
back
Murphy.
in the day. Back in the day.
Really
There's
funny.
definitely just so many.
Okay, go ahead, Geech.
Do you know any funny jokes?
Are you gonna put him on the spot like that?
Nope.
Not a
Probably
one.
doesn't know a
No,
single
I'm going to
one.
tell you one, though, because I saw that question on your prep. And I'm going to tell you one. And I should just... No, I'm not going to, because if I just told it, it would just die on the vine so bad. But I made this joke up, because I'm not, if you watch comedians, there's not too many of them except for, like, I don't know, Henny Youngman or whatever, that just tell jokes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's
So
all
more
story based.
Story.
and I'm a storyteller and all
course.
that. But I did make up a joke, and it was, what do you...
He's cracking himself up.
It's so bad though. It's what do you call fake noodles? Gigi, what do you call fake noodles?
I don't know.
Impasta. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.
I'm here till Thursday. Try the veal.
We'll make sure to add the laugh track to that one.
Joke will never work.
I have one.
It's
A joke.
because, and I figured this out. This is why you dissect jokes, right?
Yeah.
Like you go, okay, that could be a joke in a joke book, but it'll never get a laugh because the reason is because the people who would laugh at that joke, typically like little kids, right, don't know what the word imposter means.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So the
Just
joke
your
falls
pasta.
flat. It wouldn't make any sense. And then once you do know what the word imposter means, you don't laugh at jokes like that anymore.
Brutal.
So it's the only joke I've ever made up. And
I think I have one that kind of
I mean-
that goes through all the ages. So I'd
Oh,
like to just try it. Can I try mine and then you could have yours?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Why was Tigger staring in the toilet?
I don't know.
why?
He was looking for poo. You can't not laugh to that.
I'm laughing about the fact that I think
Gigi, are
that's the
you
only joke
laughing?
that
You
you
better
know.
be laughing.
It is the
I'm
only
not.
she's trying not to laugh at me. Okay, fine. You're gonna do the. I know what you're gonna do. It. That one's not a funny joke.
It's fine.
Okay,
Bodily things and outcomes
are always funny.
pooping and tooting and everything are big in my world of teaching the Improvaneer Method. Always a hit. Yes.
See, I bet
I
that
taught
joke
a class last night, and almost everyone that we went through this line where we teach it's a game called Yes and, where we just keep a story going, and they have to say yes and the ghost came out. Yes, and the ghost was wearing a whatever, and everyone involved like tooting and poop and it was funny.
Sounds like my house. That's pretty
Yeah,
much what
right.
happens over there too. Okay, are
Right.
you done? Can we get on to
No,
the
I
next?
have a joke.
Okay, what's your joke?
Knock knock.
Oh gosh.
Oh God.
Who's there?
Wooden shoe.
Who?
Wooden shoe.
Wooden
shoe?
shoe who?
Wooden shoe.
Wouldn't you like to hear another joke?
Oh, there you go.
I love it.
That
There you
was
go.
pretty good. That
That
was
was
okay.
perfect.
Fine, I'll take
Well
that
executed. I know Gigi's
All right,
joke
finish
book
up.
that she
Sorry,
has
we gotta
is
get
like
Nick.
the
Come on.
worst thing I've ever seen.
If we had one more, if we had one message to the world, what will it be and why?
There you go.
one. Ooh, that's new.
Oh gosh, that was the question that I saw in prep that I was like, I should have looked at this much sooner. That's my fault. I just love authenticity. I just do. I think if we can just be authentic, be yourself, find what you love and do it. It may pay the bills. Somebody said this to me the other night. If your passion and hard work are there, then the money will most likely follow if that's what you need. But I just think you need that. You need to find that passion and do something with it. Act on it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that's my message to the world.
Your truest self.
I
for
love
sure.
it.
I love that.
Yeah, and I love the way you find it. Like just the different ways that I've been listening to you. I get to know you in a totally different way today, and I kind of understanding it all now.
Yeah.
Because I really did, like I met you at a Playhouse opening. The first
Right.
and then I heard about this stuff and like it was we were never able to connect, but you were the Improvaneers played at different GD's Playhouse things. You were at our national conference. Like I've been around it, but I didn't really know the detailed story of it. I didn't know you well enough and the background story of it all to
I'm
see
surprised, Nancy, because every time I see you, you're just sitting by yourself in a corner somewhere. No one's talking to you.
Total
There's nothing that you have to do. So I'm surprised we haven't talked more. Yeah.
I love it though. I'm glad that we had this. This was great, and I'm glad that Franco was able to hook this up because this is how we find out about all this stuff. But this, I so believe, and like everything at Gigi's is purposeful and progressive. Always trying to get everybody, get people ready for their next phase in life, whatever's coming next. Whether that's an infant learning speech and getting ready for learning to engage in circle time and LMNOP so that they're ready for preschool, or an adult learning career skills, whatever it is, purposeful and progressive. And that's what I love about this program because it's teaching people the skills that they need in life. Obviously, great if they can get a job, but it's also to make friends. That's what I always said with our teen programs. I'm always like, get a microphone, do an open mic night. Oh, and everyone tell a joke. And if you don't have jokes, let's just have a hat and pull a joke out and get them to use that microphone. Get them to stand up there and do something. I think it's so important.
What do you do when you're with your friends? You tell jokes and you laugh and you have fun. And when you leave, you go, oh my God, I had so much fun tonight. It wasn't because you got with your friends and you were just reading books. It was because you were goofing around and really having fun, and funny moments happen. And so the connection, like you said, is just such a huge part of this.
Huge. I love what you do. I think it's really amazing. We have to be. Oh, I'm sorry, Gigi.
She's doing her tips. It's later.
Okay.
Bring Nick in.
We have to do more with it, and there's we need to. So we have your website. We've got everything for people who would want to book the Improvaneers, and you too.
Yeah. So I've done my show. It's called Minimize the Mountain. I think it's terrific.
I recommend it to everybody.
I think in your brouhahas and your galas and everything like that, I think it hits home well.
Awesome.
Yes, this is a plug for myself, but I do love doing them for Gigi's Playhouses because it is comedy, yes, but there's a big message there. And I think for those in attendance that are there just supporting the Playhouses, that's really the message, because otherwise I'm speaking to the choir, of parents who have a child with Down syndrome. But when I go to these galas, you really, and your donors, you're really you want the message to come through to them of
100%.
how deep this is and how much it means to us as parents.
Yeah.
And so I think it's been a great show for that. Hopefully the Playhouses listening that have had me agree. And then we brought the Improvaneers to perform at many of these different events, and so that's an option. And then hopefully we'll be working with you guys on the Improvaneer Method and finding a way really to get it into the Playhouse.
And to scale it out there.
I would love to be able to figure that out.
I know, that's something we definitely have to jump back on on that again. And you said something when you were just talking about that, maybe you said, the most of the parents know, but this is showing the parents, yes, they know, some of them know, but many don't understand that maybe they don't have, maybe they're not as verbal as they could be, but they have a lot to say and a lot of different ways to show it. And I think that's what you're showing people. You said it's for the donors, but I think other parents can see the value then in wait a minute, he would be able to do that.
You bring the Improvaneers to perform. That part is for the, because that's the other thing. You change perception.
Totally.
The goal of our program is to really, if we can do this. And I remember when we did this show right here in July of 2019, and it was two sold out crowds of 300 people each. The perception, people walked out and they, we know this in the Down syndrome community, but people who didn't know went, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And that was the greatest kind of compliment that we could get. You wish that they had that idea before they went to that show, but again, you're changing
those Yep. And then you spread that word. I think it's awesome. I know we have, is Nick on?
Nick is, yeah. I wasn't sure if you wanted to go into the something extra piece first.
Oh, we didn't get his something extra. That's right. We should do that now. Because
I want to ask Nick his in there too.
Okay, so as you know, our show is called A Little Something Extra. So for you, what do you think is your something extra?
It's been the comedy. I mean, It just has. I mean, I think through my life, I wanted to give some deeper thing here, but I think it is. And until Henry was born, I guess that I didn't realize, and this goes back to, I didn't, I gave up on comedy, right? And it had been such a big part of my life where it was just class clown stuff, but that's the thing. You get known as being the funny guy and you really like that. And then through college and high school, and then taking those classes and then actually putting it to practice. And then when it didn't work out, there was that feeling of loss and oh man, that's been the number one thing in my life. And then how it just kind of coincidentally came around. I don't know if you can see over my head. It says, if you're waiting for a sign, this is it.
That's awesome.
We're going to find these signs. And again, it's important when you get these signs in life to act on them. Believe in them and think about them for a while, because you do get them, those major coincidences, those crazy connections that happen. And so it came back around. And so comedy's been kind of this, thing throughout, this thread throughout my life that it's helped me in so many ways, not just in this community, but it's helped in selling,
everywhere. And now you're sharing that gift. I mean, I think that's probably his biggest something extra, is that you're sharing that gift. I mean,
Yeah.
and really, I've learned things today. I've learned, things that I take for granted from a comedian, that you just spew that out. You don't work hard at that. You know what I mean? I've learned a lot today, but I think that you're something extra is that you're sharing that gift with the world now, and you're teaching you're teaching comedy, which is breeding confidence
and using it as a tool too.
Totally.
To build.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. We think You're Something Extra is something spectacular, and we're so blessed to have you, not only in our Down syndrome community, but here in the show, here in the world. Just spreading love, brother. You're spreading the love. We're so happy to have you. All right, now we're going to get some love.
I know, we got to get
because he's not going to be happy if we don't get him on here.
Yes. So let's bring him in, Caleb, if you can.
Am I hanging out for this?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you should.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
If you got time too, I know we're going a little long.
Yeah, I have a top of the hour deal, but I'm good right now.
Okay. Sounds great.
I'm going to have Mary get your salad, Cheech, so you can have a chance to eat, okay? All right, let's see how we do. Sorry, Caleb, we're really challenging you.
It's okay. It's a fun one.
Okay, good.
There
All
he
right,
is.
we should have Nick on.
Woo!
There he is.
What's up, brother?
What's up?
What's going on?
Hi, Nick.
Nada.
Hi, Nick. How's it
closer,
going,
Cheech.
man?
What's up?
Marco? I'm good.
Good. We got you on, and we also got Rob on too.
But that's all you need.
That's all I need.
Right here.
That's all you need. You got it, man. So, Nick, what's been going on, brother? We've been talking about the Improvaneers. We've been talking to Rob about everything that's happening. Tell us about you.
Let's see, where could I start? Well, I've been busy teaching live classes as well in Akron
Nice.
with Rob.
Very
And I've
awesome.
been busy doing our Zoom classes online as well.
Oh,
Nice.
very nice.
Seems like you've been busy.
Real busy. And on top of that, you might as well take that Jesus Play. You might as well take that Jesus Playhouse shirt off.
Oh, yeah.
Marco.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know why?
Why?
Because I've been working at Applebee's as well. I'm a host, and I am a ambassador for Applebee's right here in Canton, Ohio.
Hell yeah, man. You're going to have to give me an Applebee's shirt then. I'm going to have to switch it out. I'll still rock the red, but I just got to change the logo now.
You know I will.
Hey, can you even believe that when Gigi and I came to Canton 2 weeks ago, you were in Cincinnati at the Gigi's? I go to Gigi's Canton for their big event to go see Nick. Guess who's not there? Guess who's at Gigi's Playhouse Cincinnati?
Nick.
Nick. How about
At
that,
least
brother?
You got another GG's, right?
Well, you know what? I guess I will forgive it for that.
And you gotta blame his employer. You blame me.
Yes.
I know Stacy in Canton was not happy. I'm sorry, Stacy. But he had a job to do, a paying gig. He had a
Paying gig.
Paying gig.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we missed you, Nick, but we will get you next time, brother. We will get you next time.
Nick, I got
Mark this,
Oh, sorry.
speaking of ladies' night out, mark this date down right now, Nancy and the GG. March 11th is our next ladies' night out in the year of 2023. Same place, same time.
Boom, brother.
All right, you better be there this time.
Oh,
See,
tell that to Rob.
that. Well, tell it to another GG's Playhouse who books on the same night.
Right?
That right there is why Nick is also my national sales exec.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Definitely
Always
should
thinking
be.
about that.
And go ahead, Rob.
Nick, I got a question for you, buddy.
What's up?
So, how would you say Rob and the Improvaneers has impacted your life when you started up a couple years ago?
Man, 4 years.
4 years ago.
I'm doing it 4 years, yeah.
4 years ago, I've been with this group. So, let me tell you one thing. I am so proud of everyone right now. It's not even funny. because when I say that, it makes my life easy because not only I'm teaching live classes, not only I'm teaching the online classes, when I see everyone doing their improv games, they they are gaining new skills and they are God, not only their Down syndrome, but guess what?
What?
Since since this is a little something extra podcast, I can tell you one thing,
What?
Chicago.
What's that?
We're not we're not changing for no one.
That's right, baby. Boom.
I love it.
I can't drop my mic, but I would if I could.
We could rotate.
It's on a, here I can.
It's on a stand. I
That
can't
being
drop it.
said, that being said, if anybody wants us to change in any way and you'll hire us, we'll do exactly that.
That's right.
Please.
We'll show you how it happens.
Right. We do improvise. You know, we can improvise.
Yes.
Exactly. And leave it to Rob because he lived in Chicago.
I heard. We were talking about that earlier.
I know, Nick. I remember us talking at the gala, or not gala, at conference, that that you're gonna have to come up here, and me and you are gonna have to go to Second City sometime.
Yes.
See your
and
comedy
Rob
show.
is coming.
That
Hey,
would be cool.
I'm all in. If you guys are in Chicago, I live right there. Zanies. We can go to Second City. We can go to Laugh Factory. We can go to any of them.
Yes.
I'm all in.
Let's make it happen.
You let me know the
Yes.
date, and I'm there.
So I don't know if you guys know about this, and I don't know how far it got. I actually want you to edit this out. But before the pandemic, we were set. A guy I waited tables with at Rock Bottom Brewery became a fairly successful filmmaker and producer in Hollywood, and now he produces like a lot of documentaries and things like that. And we were going to create a documentary about the Improvaneers, the world's first all Down syndrome improv troupe. We were going to rent this bus and wrap it, with Improvaneer Method.
Totally.
And the goal was going to be to work with you all, and then go from here in Ohio to Detroit, Indiana, and then finish
awesome.
around a bunch of the Chicagos and do performances for the playhouses, and then go to Second City at some point, and then
Awesome.
hopefully get some star power there,
Totally.
talk with us and meet with us. And then we were going to end it. We were working with Best Buddies to end it at the big Best Buddies conference down in at the U of I, Indiana, where they have like 3,000 or 4,000 students
Right.
lining the streets with this bus.
Oh my
coming
God,
in.
that would have been so awesome.
We were there. Like we were starting to I had a whole treatment and pitch together, and then I was going to be calling you guys and you, Nancy, and say, "Are you in?
Let's
Would you
do
like
it.
this?"
Yeah.
How amazing! And I still want to do it, but
Totally.
just
That's
when he
awesome.
brought up Second City and going to Second City and stuff, and I still think that would just be an incredible documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be incredible. I know. I mean, I would love to hear that, like the talks of that starting again, because I mean, it sucks the pandemic had to screw
pin
it
in it.
over.
Well, it's all started. The world's opening back up.
I know.
It's
I
time.
know. Let's put a pin in it.
That's where it's, she can't even hear the word mask. When someone says something now, she's like, oh, she can't even hear the word COVID. Like every time, if it comes on and the news something, she's like, I'm so over it. I go, well, Gee, we're all over it. We just got to wait for it to finish. You know what I mean? We got to wait for the world to get over it. So,
Right. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say.
no, that's awesome. We'll talk more on that and programming and everything else. Okay, go ahead, Gigi. What do you have? Tips? What do we at?
Okay, so Gigi's got some tips for us to hear right now, and I would love to hear, Nick and Rob kind of comment on them because the
Once
tips.
they're- okay.
Because the theme for today's episode is all about not taking yourself too seriously, and
Okay.
I think Mr. Nick Doyle's pretty darn good at that. So,
Right.
Gigi,
Well, we got to start her whole tips. So,
I know.
all right. So now we have Nick and we have Rob. So, Gigi, what are you thinking about maybe giving some tips?
Do you say tips?
I did say
We
tips.
did say tips.
Tips!
Woo! Knock them out, girl. What are we doing tips on today?
Here,
I hear that power voice.
Here
Wow.
are my tips for talking yourself to seriously.
Okay.
Always pay attention to the brighter side of life.
Wait, do it again. Wait, what was that? Go slow.
Always pay attention to the brighter side of life.
I like that.
Try to keep positive mindsets. Laugh as much as possible.
Love that.
Don't be afraid to be yourself.
Okay.
Have confidence and don't be cocky.
Don't be cocky. I don't know anybody here that's cocky, Nick.
Wow.
Confident.
Wow. I can tell you one thing, and I will comment on that. So, Gigi, I can tell you one thing.
Okay?
When you say confidence, we play a game called quick thinking.
Quick
And
thinking.
you know what that is?
What?
We make up everything.
That's
all it has.
I love that.
And there's no wrong answers on top of that.
I
Absolutely.
love that.
You know what it takes to just be able to throw that first thing in your mind out there?
Confidence.
Confidence. See?
Absolutely.
It's all there. Do you have one more?
Two more, actually.
Oh, two more. Okay,
Two
got
more,
it.
actually.
All right.
Always be smiling.
Always be
Always
smiling.
be smiling.
Of
I'll
course.
take that.
And finally, live every day like it's your last.
Whoa.
Live every day like it's your last.
Boom.
Absolutely.
Got the mic.
Drop the mic. You can do that.
Drop that mic.
That's right,
That
baby.
is, I love all of those. I mean, you can't go wrong abiding by any of those,
No.
can you?
Anything to add to those, Mr. Improvaneer?
You know, I think just find. I don't know which one is Mr. Improvaneer.
You
I
are.
think both.
Well, I meant
think
you,
both
but I
of
heard
them.
Nick go, he'll be next.
I
think on yours,
Mr.
Nick, too.
Improvaneer Maker?
The
Hater?
only thing I'd say about the positive piece is when you have to. There's a little bit more to positivity. You have to find the positive, and especially when you're feeling down.
Totally.
You have to find the positive, and you have to. This is the big part because everybody can find the positive,
Ready?
but you have to let it in, and that's a hard
Absolutely.
part sometimes, especially
Totally.
if you're feeling really dark about something or really down about something. Everybody will tell you, and this is probably because some people will say like, "Oh, be positive and stay positive," especially when really bad things happen, and they'll tell you this like. Sometimes they're like crying when they're telling you.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Right.
like,
You're like,
yeah, stay positive.
right.
Stay positive. And you go,
God, Rob.
you're crying. It didn't even happen to you. Like,
Right.
Tell myself
Right.
to stay positive now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the key is you got to let it in.
Awesome. I
And-
love that. We'll
true.
remember that one.
And,
Nick?
and I can top that.
Oh,
You top
I
it.
can top that. So based on what Rob just said right there,
yep.
so you always have to get dreams, right?
Right.
Well, guess what? If I have dreams, and if the GG has dreams as well, just follow your dreams, and write this down, GG.
What?
Do not give up on your dreams.
Woo!
Get back up and dust yourself off and make people laugh.
Woo!
Absolutely.
Yes.
Couldn't agree more, Nick.
Damn.
That's a mic drop moment.
All right, that is a
Yeah.
mic drop moment. All right, well, we
I
have
love it.
got to get wrapping up, but I want to ask Nick one more question.
Well, hey,
You
I'm
know,
all ears.
this is called a little something extra. Your little something extra is like your superpower. It's what you have inside of you that drives you every single day and makes you who you are.
What is your something extra?
What is your something
What
extra?
is my something extra? My something extra is public speaking.
Oh, boom.
I could not agree more.
And what does that bring? Changed perceptions.
Yes.
Inspiration.
Yes.
Boom.
And guess what? And guess what else that means, you guys?
What does
What?
that mean?
What?
Adaption to change.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Totally, brother. You're leading the way, Nick. We're so proud of you. You have no idea. We are so beyond proud of you.
You're a hell of a role model, brother.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we
You
can't
guys
wait
are
to see
too.
you in person soon, man.
Thanks, buddy.
So bummed I
Yeah,
missed you at Canton, but I'll see you next
Yeah.
time.
We'll make
I'll
it
s-
happen for sure.
We'll see you soon.
I have a question for Nick.
Oh.
What's your question now?
Yes.
Hey Nick, what is your tips are?
What are your tips?
My tips?
Yeah, for
For
being the awesome person that
anyone?
you are.
Be yourself. Gotta have confidence. Gotta have some improv in your daily lives.
Woo!
Gotta have some improv in your daily
good.
life.
Love
Exactly. You can't take yourself too seriously, right? You can't plan for everything. You just gotta improv.
That's it.
That's right. Well, you guys were awesome. We can't thank you enough. You were both amazing, and we're so blessed to have you in our Gigi's family and our Gianni family. Whoa, that is right here today.
Yes.
And this is going to wrap up another episode of A Little Something Extra. We had Rob Snow, Nick Doyle, and
Yep.
we're so blessed to have you guys. Have a fantastic day and look these guys up. Book them. They are doing amazing things for this world. And Gianni's are out.
Johnny's up.
Everybody is born with a little something extra, and sometimes they just have to find it. A little something extra is that superpower that every single one of us has inside that motivates us and drives our passion and makes us do the things that we do.
We're all on the same team. Let's think about how we can make that team as inclusive as we can.
For those of you listening to our podcast right now, you can also check out our video podcast at alittlesomethingextrapodcast.org.